Time is running out.
So, Minister, what's it really like representing Australia on the world stage?
I'm not going into all of the details. I mean, it depends on, you know, you have to know all about the details, and I'm simply not going into all the details.
Welcome to the Glasshouse, the program that asks the question, if Katie Holmes wasn't allowed to scream during childbirth, do you think she's saving it for the wedding? More news than Cruz, Katie, Kidman and Keith this week. In what President W described as a thumpin', the Democratic Party is running both houses of Congress, and Donny Rumsfeld got the big khaki boot. This means George has now lost control of 2 countries. The Democrats have really damaged Bush. They've confused him by having more congressmen than he can count up to. He said he accepted a large part of the responsibility. Then he blamed everybody else. He blamed corrupt members of his own party, he blamed the Democrats, and last but not least, he blamed voters who don't know what's going on. Which means he may have voted Democrat himself. Human Services Minister Joe Hockey wants suggestions for a name for the access card we're all getting in 2008. How about the invasion of privacy card? The freedom card? The democracy card? The friendly, smiley, happy card of love? The card will be split between official data and personal information we can put on it ourselves. Hockey said we could even put our shopping list on it, and it'll only dob you in if you buy fertiliser or falafel. Britney filed for divorce from Kevin, citing irreconcilable differences. She's rich and famous, and he isn't. Brit gets the house, and K-Fed gets to keep 750,000 copies of his unsold album. He's also vowed to fight for custody of the kids. He'll take them during the week, and she'll get to drop them on the weekend. At Parliament House, a bureaucrat wants to slash water consumption by getting MPs to adopt a no-flush policy. It's the old, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. The government uses a similar slogan. If it's Costello, let him mellow. If it's Bob Brown, vote him down. They also believe if it's green, look the other way. And if it's black, don't say sorry. Congrats!
Law enforcement news, Ivan Willett. A new analysis of spending by the Australian Federal Police has found they shelled out more than $30,000 on coloured pencils. It may seem extreme, but when the terror alert goes from orange to red, boy, are they ready! The AFP insists the expenditure is valid. If they hadn't bought the pencils, it just would have been a waste of taxpayers' money spending 50 grand on colouring in books. A spokesman said the pencils were used at career expos for recruiting new staff. Apparently, they've managed to recruit over 500 7-year-olds. And they insist the pencils have a function in airport security. Travellers who match the brown pencil get a body search.
Officially flabbergasted this week. Extraordinary news. The federal government's selling Telstra shares and people have gone berserk over it. Everyone's buying them. Apparently it was too hard to get into the Iraq property market and they had to settle for Telstra shares. Seriously, that's unbelievable how many people want these shares. They're very, very wanted, these Telstra shares. My question, why? They're rubbish! They were last time. The last shares have halved in value in 5 years. That's why people this time are buying double the amount. Seriously, I mean, the only people not buying them are Telstra executives. They've decided, no, we'll let other people have them. We'll be selfless. Seriously, though, even people in the country are buying them. The countryside, they're buying Telstra shares. They'd be better off buying blankets and wooden matches. The only way they're going to be able to bloody make calls is through smoke signals. Anyway, thank you.
All right, let's get to it. Joining me, Corinne and Dave, to throw some stones in the Glasshouse tonight. He's the king of the dealer-drome and an ambassador for White Ribbon Day on Saturday, 25th of November, Andrew O'Keefe. And the freedom fighter who brought democracy to the lawless state of South Australia, Senator Natasha Stockdale-Spoyer. All right, movers and shakers. First up, 50,000 public school teachers across New South Wales have been warned to watch what they write and say about students because the kids might sue for defamation. Australia's becoming so much like America, you'd think Bush was running the place. Eventually, teachers are going to be sued as much as doctors, and they don't have the same opportunities to get rid of their mistakes. If you call a student dopey, moody or grumpy, you could scar them for life, especially if they're a dwarf. Dave, no one has a bad word to say about you. Would you have sued your teachers?
Yeah, a couple of them are quite nasty towards me, yeah. Yeah,
What
they
had
were.
you done, though?
They called me lazy. They didn't know that I knew that I was going to be a comedian. I didn't need any of that maths and all that rubbish, you know? I had a plan from the age of, young.
I find it interesting that they're seeking to sue for defamation. I used to be a lawyer for a while, and I know that in order to prove defamation, you know, the student has to prove that by saying the things they've said, the teacher has reduced the public opinion of that student, right? Now, if you're a 15-year-old, you know, you are lazy, you stink, you're a compulsive masturbator, you're surly. How is it possible to reduce the public opinion of you?
I think we more got an insight into you as a 15-year-old.
You know what I like, though? You know what I like? You were a lawyer for a little while, you know? All that study. How many years did you study to become a lawyer?
I studied 9 years, I practiced for 3.
Yeah.
I quickly realised it's very boring.
Yep.
Look, I've done almost a decade of study and dedicated my life to it, and now I'm a trained lawyer. You know what I'd really like to do? Let people guess what's in a suitcase.
Well, you know, people often ask me, when did you decide to become a game show host? And the simple reason is you don't decide to you're born to it. I knew from a very early age I wanted to spend the rest of my life opening little briefcases stashed full of cash. So I had 2 options. I could join the Australian Wheat Board or get into television.
Andrew, Natasha's just asked if you could do a political version.
guess?
Could you do like a political version of Deal or No Deal?
Yeah, I think so. I think it happened recently, didn't it, between Howard and Costello?
I tell you what, you are wasted on Deal or No Deal.
Okay, Natasha, can I ask you, what were you like at school? Did you know you wanted to be a politician?
No, but I recently had my 20th school reunion a couple of weeks ago, and I was sort of saying, isn't it surprising you ended up a senator? And they said, oh, we need to be a politician.
Oh,
so I'm not sure if that's like a nice thing or a bad thing. But,
Depends on, if they said it like that, we need to be a politician, I would pick bad thing. If they went, we always thought you'd be a politician.
It was a bit like that.
What did they think that?
Natasha's
Did you go around sucking up to people every 3 years or something?
I think... Actually, I'm in the Senate, so every 6, but...
Our next movers and shakers come from the US and UK, where worried parents are now putting babies just a few months old into therapy. Oh, look, he's got his father's neuroses. But what's a stressed infant going to say? My parents don't understand me. Then learn to talk, you lazy baby. It's about teaching parents simple ways to deal with problems. One mother whose baby wasn't bonding was told to take off her glasses so the baby could see her eyes. Another whose baby was having trouble feeding was told to take off her bra so the kid wouldn't have to suck so hard. It's good to help them get over this phase of life now, or they could end up still babies at the age of 25 and married to Bet Cartwright. Andrew, you're a proud dad. Would you put your kids into therapy?
Well, no, not at the prices they charge. I mean, that woman who took her baby to bonding therapy, they had a 3-week intensive course of bonding, and it cost her £29,000.
You'd be better off buying another one, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. One that's not so messed up, yeah. Absolutely. But I mean, I don't begrudge them the therapy. As a parent, I know how you actually messed your kids up, you know, by the way you raised them.
What about parents? I mean, I think we're the ones that need the therapy, because after you've mainlined Wiggles for months, it's like, Joni works with one hammer, one hammer. You just hop potato, hop potato. I mean, you need therapy
Do you
after
think
that.
is having a child like having a life sentence sort of thing? Like, do you think... do you never do anything and think, do you ever think there's no way out here?
Hang on. I'm in Parliament and I'm a Democrat, and you think a baby's a life sentence. I don't think so. I like the idea of... I'm kind of partial to the therapy, but I'm happy to be the one that provides it, you know, like, how are we feeling today? Feeling well-adjusted, sweetie? Coochie, coochie, coochie? Who's a well-adjusted baby?
That'd certainly calm me down.
Somehow I think it would have the opposite effect on you, Dave. But do you ever, like, I mean, because sometimes, you know, you notice with newborn parents, well, the parents of newborns, that they start to talk like that in the rest of their lives. Do you have to be really careful not to baby speak when you're on the floor of the Parliament?
Absolutely. I mean, like, coochie, coochie stem cell bill, I'd like to address the pluripotency of stem cell therapies. I mean, it didn't quite work like that in the debate, but yeah, absolutely.
When some of the other senators dribble, do you want to go over there and sort of...
Just go over to Tony Abbott and go, who's got big ears? You've got big ears. Look at those ears. You have.
But doesn't your little child, Conrad, he's got parents of 2 very different political persuasions, doesn't he? So you're kind of messing him up every day, aren't you?
This is it. He's going to be completely torn between a father who's sort of neocon and I'm con-radical sort of side. So between... Actually, we actually have one of our friends thought that we named him Conrad because it was conservative plus radical. Yeah. We've got really clever friends.
He's going to be messed up. He's going to be really messed up.
So, but yeah,
what team is he going to barrack for, do you think?
What team?
Yeah,
in terms of politics?
Yeah.
Oh, I reckon he'll rebel. I think he'll, you know, join the Labor Party or... Oh, God, the Nationals. No! Keep away from Barnaby on Glasshouse.
Oh. You do like Barnaby. You and Barnaby have, like, I think you've bonded.
We have bonded. Barnaby and I have bonded.
Barnaby went into bat for this show as well,
He
didn't
did, he did.
So good on you, Barnaby, if you're watching. And if you're not, well, that's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Our favourite movers and shakers this week are the great political minds behind the phenomenon of attack ads. They're standard procedure in American campaigns, and now they're coming to an Australian election near you.
So what kind of man parties with Playboy playmates in lingerie, then films political ads from a church pew?
Ron Kind even spent your tax dollars to pay teenage girls to watch pornographic movies with probes connected to their genitalia. Ron Kind pays for sex, but not for soldiers.
And that's nothing. After Michael J. Fox came out in support of a pro-stem cell research candidate, a talkback host accused him of exaggerating his Parkinson's. The same guy also accused Christopher Reeve of only pretending to be dead. The attack bug's spreading here too. The ALP have released this ad about Howard's record on interest rates.
Who do you trust? 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 Who do you trust?
That explains why Bush is always so pleased to see him. Senator, you might know what it's like to be attacked in politics. Is it getting worse?
Well, it's certainly not as bad here as it is in America, but given that we're copying everything that America does in politics, bring it on. I just can't wait for some of those ads in Australia.
Really?
Can you imagine it? Like, you know, last year at the last election when John Howard was doing his voicemail messages, and I saw one of those American ads which was like, "Hey, sexy, you've called the one-on-one fantasy line. Call me." I mean, how good would that be for the Liberal Party? Think of the votes that he'd get out of it.
Want to shake hands with the member for my pants? Oh, touch my tax package, it's 10% bigger.
Oh, there's an image I didn't need.
But those American ads really are, I mean, they're quite disgraceful, aren't they? That one where they were saying that he'd met the Playboy bunny, I mean, he was the first black candidate...
In the South.
In the South, that's right, since the Civil War, basically, to run in Tennessee. So they're running this agenda, you know, that black men are suddenly hanging out with Playboy bunnies to vote against this, you know.
White Playboy bunnies.
Exactly, white
was the
Playboy
bunnies.
bunnies.
As well.
But then they pulled that ad off the air and they put another one on. And every time his face appeared on the ad, they'd have tom-tom drums in the background going boom, 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 boom. I mean, why didn't they just run the first 10 minutes of Shaka Zulu? Say, we don't like no black people representing us around here. You know,
That is horrible.
it's just extraordinary.
But it's the only profession in which we get away with negative ads because everyone else is covered by truth in advertising legislation, but not politicians.
Wouldn't that be good if Ronald McDonald was just on the TV going, Hungry Jack's shit in their burgers?
There is something seriously flawed about a political system where we, the general public, are not allowed to lie, but our politicians are allowed to lie, and there's no punishment for that whatsoever. You can stand up in Parliament, for example, and say someone's the head of the ACTU when they're not. You can make up whatever crap you like in Parliament.
Have you had some crap written said about you in Parliament?
Well, I mean, parliamentary privilege. I mean, we can say anything, but I mean,
what is one of the most hurtful things someone said about you?
Anyone ever called you Natasha Snot Despoyer?
I've had Spot Destroyer.
Spot Destroyer?
Yeah. So I was wearing a spotty dress.
What are you killing dogs?
I don't know. One of the silliest, I think, was your friend of mine, Senator Amanda Vanstone, who sort of, you know, had a go at when I was, you know, in the Democrats and Cheryl Kernot was leader, and she said, "Oh, you know, too many blondes in that party," or something like that.
That's bitter, isn't it?
And of course, I stood up, you know, my pretty self-righteous, you know, feminist, girly swat self, and said, you know, point of order. Don't think that's very nice.
Hard hitting. You shock it to him.
Now, can I say, is an official point of order, that's not very nice? Can you use that? Point of order, you are.
But she came back and she said, oh, you know, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to be offensive. I'm not suggesting that being blonde is something bad. Otherwise, why would the senator dye her hair that colour?
Oh, she claimed that you weren't a real blonde.
I know, the cheek of it.
That's what you thought she said, like her mouth was full at the time. So, see that?
She was, you know, pretending to be fat and wasn't fat at all. Well, bloody, she started it.
The Democrats did an attack ad once.
On you?
On who?
Oh, yeah. In 2001, when I was leader, we did... I don't know if anyone remembers the Two Dogs Barking campaign. Pretty vicious.
I know, I thought your attack ad was Cheryl Kernot.
And a picture of Beasley and a picture of Howard in the Parliament talking and just barking as the noise over the top, and it comes across... we say, you know, did you ever think that politics is a bit like two dogs barking? Well, vote for the Democrats, because we're all alternative. I mean, it was just a really vicious...
Yeah.
Because the others sound like dogs.
What are you guys? What sort of animal are the Democrats? A little fluffy little kitten?
Oh, yeah. Like little cute, I don't know, koalas or something, like, you know, because we're Australian.
They're like one of those, you know, endangered animals that aren't going to exist really soon.
Later in the Glasshouse, Natasha Stott-Despoja sues the ABC for making her sit next to Will Anderson's thongs.
I think there are a few moments there where I held my breath for about half an hour.
John, I've got an election to win Howard, takes out a restraining order against George Lame Duck Bush.
It does show that our relationship has moved on.
And Kim Beazley reveals the two words most frequently uttered by Labor supporters at 6:01 p.m. on voting day.
We're late.
Our beloved Prime Minister heads to Vietnam tomorrow for the APEC summit. Ah, APEC. You go for the politics, you stay for the outfits. Next year's summit is in Sydney, which means we have to provide the overseas leaders with some traditional Australian clobber. Maybe it should be as simple, like a T-shirt. Australia welcomes banana republics. BYO bananas. Maybe a nod to our glorious past. With a modern twist. Maybe it shouldn't be closing at all. Or maybe it should just be the classic Aussie look we're famous for around the world.
I think maybe we should go something a little bit more traditional, maybe an apron with boobs on it.
Why do they even have these meetings, honestly? What is achieved
What
at
the
them?
freak happens at APEC?
Yeah, exactly. Just haven't they got phones? Just ring each other, you know? Why do they have to actually
If they
meet?
cancel these APEC meetings, the whole rayon industry is going to go out of business. I don't understand why they always hold them in sort of tropical countries. You know, it's in Kuala Lumpur, one year Jakarta, then Sydney, and they're always wearing 90% rayon. It's like they've got their own little microclimates going on in their shirt.
Yeah.
They want to stop global warming, just cancel APEC, you know.
They could actually power the whole thing just on static electricity.
But they're just junkets, aren't they, really? They'd all be hanging out at strip clubs at nights.
If any of them come, like, does anyone in our region even like us anymore? Like, Fiji hates us, the Solomon Islands hate us, Tasmania hates us.
But it's not because they hate us that we've never had an APEC in Australia before.
Why is it?
Why?
It's because the world leaders have been terrified of having to wear a Ken Doan shirt. They haven't come anywhere near us.
What actually happens at APEC?
What do they do?
Anything?
Oh, Corinne, lots of chats about trade liberalisation, bird flu, climate change. It's you know.
They all
big deal.
talk shit and go home, basically,
But, well,
don't they?
Doesn't achieve anything. Like, there's something like because it's going to cost like hundreds of millions of dollars.
I mean, they could do it by a video conference.
Yeah.
For bugger all.
And they could reduce their carbon emissions while they would, they didn't have to fly around. But, well, Howard says he's going to take climate change to the top of the political
He's just
agenda.
got on this, hasn't he?
Today in the paper, the headline in the paper said that John Howard had said that he was going to lead on climate change. That's like saying, hey, everyone, have you watched this really cool show, Family Ties?
It's a bit like Churchill leading at Gallipoli, isn't it?
But I love that letter to the paper defending Glasshouse, you know, when it was cut, and some punter wrote in and said, you know, Mr. Howard, we wanted action on greenhouse, not Glasshouse.
Yes, it's time to award the coveted Glasshouse trophy, which this week is called. And the winner of the Rin Tin 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 Pot Tin Helmet is the German Army, which recently called up a dead dog for national service. It's very good at stay. The Army would have seen the funny side, but they're German. The Glasshouse making racism fun again. Sounds cruel, but it's all part of NATO's new war on terror. It's also a new explanation to give the kids when the family pet disappears. Instead of he's gone to the farm, he's peacekeeping in Fallujah. Well, that's the way it is for Wednesday, November the 15th. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Andrew. In case you missed the outpouring of heartfelt emotion and pure hatred, the Excellence Awards on November 29 at 9 p.m. will be the last Glasshouse ever. This week we want you to vote. Well, that was Underwhelming. This week, we want you to vote for excellence in politics, and the nominees are the Holy Father, Tony Abbott, and his disciples for their shameless claims stem cell research would lead to hybrid mutants like Tony Abbott. Got to be at least half elephant, you know? George W. Bush, by far the most intelligent and erudite of all the dwarves. Philip Ruddock, Attorney General and Guantanamo expert, for saying sleep deprivation isn't torture. I'd like to keep Phil awake for a week to see how he goes, but he burst into flames when the sunlight hit him. Because he's a vampire. And Kim Beazley for leading a party at a poll-winning position and still consistently reaching a level of popularity just below that of stingrays. 10 more copies of the Glasshouse DVD if you SMS A, B, C or D to 1974 7747. Or if cheap merchandise isn't your cup of tea, abc.net.au/glasshouse. This is the last award we're announcing before the big night, so get your voting socks on. Who knows? You might win back the Senate. And let's take a look at tomorrow's headlines. According to the Territory News, drought to hit dinner table. Kids forced to drink cordials straight. The UK Mail says Mick Jagger's dad dies aged 93. Keith Richards' dad still alive, aged 247. And in the Wall Street Journal, Britney protected by prenup. K-Fed protected by thick layer of fat around his brain. Oh,
no. Join us on Saturday to rock the night away with ARIA award-winning group Eskimo Joe.